If you've been on the internet for a while now, you may be familiar with virtual influencers. They're typically computer-generated characters designed to resemble living human beings. They share human personalities and characteristics, yet they're managed by a team of writers and designers behind the scenes. While they don't exist in the physical world, they live full lives on social media. Like regular influencers, they have a large following and earn millions through brand deals and sponsorships. Popular examples include characters like Michaela D'Souza, who, with a combined 6.5 billion followers, has collaborated with big-name brands like Dior and Prada. However, as unusual as this sounds, this is not the first time that fictional people have taken the celebrity spotlight. That would be Cynthia. Long before online ads and TV commercials, stores had only one medium to attract customers: the window. After the 1800s, plate glass became widely accessible, which allowed department stores to use window displays as their own advertising spaces. Soon after, mannequins gained a renewed sense of importance. In 1932, New York City-based artist Lester Gaba built a 100-pound mannequin. Her name was Cynthia. The mannequin was originally designed for Saks Fifth Avenue in hopes of attracting new shoppers. At the time, department stores owned only two kinds of mannequins: models made out of wax, which were prone to melting, and a more avant-garde Art Deco design. Lester's mannequin stood out from others, particularly for her hyper-realistic design, from her soft skin and blonde hair to her constant holding of a cigarette. But it was more than just her physique. For a mannequin made out of plaster, Cynthia emitted an unusual swagger. She was cool but warm at the same time. She appeared snobby but humble. Her looks were glamorous but attainable. She embodied the perfect mystique emulated by high society and desired by common people. Lester also designed other similar mannequins, each modeled after other New York City socialites, dubbing them the Gaba Girls. However, from among his various mannequins, Cynthia stood out from the crowd. Seeing the opportunity, Gaba devised a plan. From then on, he pretended Cynthia lived a human life. Friends would arrive at Lester's apartment and discover Cynthia living alongside him, perhaps reading a book or listening to music, like any other person. Soon he began taking Cynthia around town, always fashionably dressed. What was strangest of all were people's reactions to Cynthia. In every place Lester brought the mannequin, Cynthia became a hit. Friends and strangers would play along, talking to and engaging with Cynthia, and soon after, word spread. Magazines and tabloids began reporting on Cynthia. She became a regular in the New York City club scene, appearing in clubs like Morocco and the Short Club. She would also be invited to the most exclusive parties, including Wallis Simpson's wedding to the former King of England, Edward VIII. By 1937, Life magazine had launched a 14-page spread about Cynthia, catapulting the mannequin into celebrity status. The profile featured images of Cynthia in various positions: eating with friends, riding on top of a tour bus, and even getting dismantled. But Cynthia's fame did not end with parties and pictures. With her celebrity, companies began sending Cynthia luxury products, including clothes and jewelry. Cynthia became what we now call a brand ambassador, wearing everything from designers like Tiffany and Cartier to Lily Deshay. She also received massive amounts of fan mail, sealing her position as a 1930s influencer. In the span of a year, Cynthia received a credit card from Saks Fifth Avenue, had a boxy at the Metropolitan Opera House, launched her own newspaper column, and even hosted her own radio show, which Gaba voiced behind the scenes. Finally, in 1938, Cynthia made a cameo in the Hollywood movie Artists in Films Abroad, starring Jack Benny and Joan Bennett. The stark reality about Cynthia wasn't that people pretended she was human, but rather that everyone, including Gaba, accepted she was not real, even if Gaba sometimes joked that Cynthia didn't talk because she had laryngitis. This was especially fitting for the Great Depression, when Cynthia's lifestyle was largely inaccessible. By playing along, not only did people get to live vicariously through her, but perhaps it inspired some needed earnestness. If a plaster mannequin could make it, so could anyone else. But like with every rising star, Cynthia's fame was fated to end. By the 1940s, at the height of Cynthia's fame, the US entered the Second World War. Gaba was conscripted, which forced him to leave Cynthia behind. As he shipped Cynthia with his parents, he left strict instructions to continue treating Cynthia like a real person. In 1942, Gaba suffered a loss. Cynthia reportedly slipped off a chair in a beauty salon and broke into pieces. The press reported her death. However, Gaba was not deterred. After returning from the war in 1953, Gaba made plans to have a reconstructed Cynthia host a television talk show. To give the illusion she could talk, Gaba would use wires to puppet Cynthia's face and arms, while a hidden speaker system would project her voice. In total, Gaba spent $10,000, or $100,000 adjusted for inflation. However, in the end, his project proved unsuccessful. Gaba received rejection after rejection, putting the nail in Cynthia's coffin. In a 1960s interview with the New York Times, Gaba opened up about the situation. "We had 20 TV auditions, but the show didn't work out. Cynthia never made any sense. She muffed lines. Finally, I got tired of carrying her around from studio to studio, so one day, while absolutely disgusted, I took Cynthia down to the studio of a mad scientist in Greenwich Village and left her in his attic, where I'm sure she still sits." Since Cynthia's passing, more and more fictional characters have caught the spotlight. From notable musicians like Hatsune Miku and the Gorillaz, to social media influencers like Ludo Magalu and Michaela de Sousa. While Cynthia may not relate to the former, her rise and success are comparable to the latter. For many, Cynthia was aspirational. She was a celebrity, not so different from today's Instagram models. She projected what many people idolize from New York's high society, that being having a cool aura, a fashionable wardrobe, and access to the most exclusive events. Some may be perplexed as to why so many people became fans of this fictional character. However, the truth of the matter is that Cynthia projected what many people yearned for and idolized during a specific time period. She represented money and luxury at a time when neither were accessible. Meanwhile, the fact that she was a mannequin perhaps inspired other people's humor and earnestness. She piqued people's curiosity, especially those motivated by genuine fascination. What we can take from this remains a question. Ironically, Cynthia was not immortal. Her fame died with the change of the times. Post-war America, with its turn towards suburban living and middle-class consumerism, lost interest. Gaba suddenly stopped receiving invitations and people moved on. Since then, characters who have followed after Cynthia, from fictional musicians to virtual influencers, have all survived to various degrees. Gaba created Cynthia in large part as a marketing technique. In doing so, not only did Gaba's performance fuel him attention, but it also helped him change the retail industry. After all, we can thank or blame Lester Gaba for popularizing life like mannequins. We can only hope that today's generation of fake influencers arrives in peace, or at the very least, we can try to be critical about those who we choose to put in the spotlight.
Their hyper-realistic faces could be misused, and from a woman's perspective, I feel bad to see their body shapes are almost identical, which can pose a risk of advancing impossible body image standards toward women.
If we've learned anything in the last few years, like our ancestors before us, it's that time is short and unpredictable. But at least one thing is certain. Which characters survive and make an impact will ultimately depend on us. At least that was the case for Cynthia.